Welcome back to the Yes Girls Basketball Podcast, where we feature real women, real ballers, and real stories. Today, Emma and I are going to be talking about coaching because Miss Emma has coaching experience. I am coaching my first year now. And honestly, at this time of recording, it has been about 6 months. Yeah, or 7 now because we're in September. So 7 now, so we lied to you. It's the first 7 months of coaching. And we're just going to be honestly talking about like what we've learned so far as a coach, what we didn't expect, what we have expected, even some fun memories. So that's kind of what we're going to kick off today. But for the viewers who don't listen, because Emma hasn't really talked about it too much. So Emma, give us a little insight of your coaching experience. Where did you coach? All of that.
Yes, absolutely. So growing up, like I definitely have been in and out of like basketball facilities, workout facilities and whatnot. And I would say around like 3 or 4 years ago, I helped do like a Division I coaching camp for like high school kids, like high school girls and boys that were going off into college and whatnot. And so that was like a 2 to 3 week experience, like straight every day from literally like 8 a.m. to like 5 p.m. Like so many people came in from the towns, like all around the country. So that was really cool to get to see a variety of like different kids come from all around, and coaching aspect, whether it was like drills or whether we were leaning up for like the last week of camp, which was like playing against each other. So it was really cool to like get different aspects and whatnot of what everyone can bring to the game. So that was kind of like my first taste of like coaching. And my trainer was my trainer growing up. He was the one that reached out to me. He's like, hey, would you like to do this? Like you'd be coaching one of like the high school girls teams like in my camp. And I was like, yeah, for sure. Like that'd be awesome. So I got into that and it was really cool. And then fast forward a few years after that, I finished playing basketball. My eligibility was up, but I still had 1 more year of undergrad. So my coach was like, hey, would you like to be an assistant coach? You can still like stay around the team. You can help coach. Like we'll make sure school's covered for you if you like, just do this for us. And so this past year, as of like a year ago, I was an assistant coach for an NAIA school, like officially on the roster. It said like assistant coach Emma. And I'm like, yes, that's awesome. But then I did that for a year, and it was not the COVID year that ended the season. It was the next year where only certain schools like either had an opportunity or other schools like opted out. Like that was our year. So the COVID year was when I was able to be an assistant coach. And then fast forward to where I am right now. I'm actually down in Indy right now because I'm starting my grad school process. So kind of putting a hold on coaching right now, but I'm actually going to be helping one of my friends. She's coaching a 5th and 6th grade basketball team. So I'm going to be getting into that here in a little bit once like their season starts to pick up, because they're just doing like summer workouts right now. But that's just like my brief little background of coaching, but definitely have learned a lot.
So. Yeah, that's so fun. Yeah. And I guess a little bit of my background is just growing up helping little kids, like doing small little private sessions while I was in high school, and then college, here and there if I could, doing camps or whatever. And then this past year is when full swing of actual coaching got started. Like it was funny. I went from having no coaching, I felt like opportunity, like I was like looking for an opportunity to coach, to coaching like nonstop, like within like that. So I definitely feel like I've been coaching longer 6 months because it's been nonstop. But I started off, I coached 2 different AAU teams. I ran a camp with my friend Taylor, who actually Taylor's been on this podcast before. So you guys should check out that episode. But we did a huge like clinic that was like 4 weeks long, and that was super fun. And then now I am the JV head coach of a high school here in Florida. And then I also help with varsity as well. So that's been my coaching experience for the past year. Well, 6 months this year, 2021. And yeah, it's been super fun. Again, like we said, we just kind of want to talk about what we learned, what we didn't expect, fun memories, different things. So Emma, do you want to start off with maybe something of what you didn't expect?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. I guess like right off the bat, coming from like where I was once a player, like with this team that I was coaching, like the college team, like just 6 months prior, like was just getting ready, wearing the same uniform, like getting buckets and whatnot with these same girls. And then we started workouts, and I felt like I was done getting yelled at. But then I wasn't. So that was a big shock, especially like it was like my very first day of workouts. It was like 5 a.m. weights or something. And I was the one getting yelled at too, like, Emma, do this, or what are you doing? And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, this is all new to me. But I guess that was the biggest thing too. I was like, I'm never not being coached, if that
Mm,
is a good way to put it, because like I'm still learning at the same time, which is any coach, which is any person in this world. Like every day you wake up, hopefully you keep learning throughout your day. So I
mhm,
guess that's something I didn't necessarily, it wasn't like on my like radar to know that like,
mm,
hey, like I'm not going to be a player anymore, so like I'm not going to be the one being like yelled at and being like, what are you doing, like all this. But I was way wrong. I was definitely one of the most out of like the coaches, because I don't know, I just have this like really big passion and fire for basketball. Like I love to be engaged, and that's just how they kind of portrayed me as a coach. And they're just like, why aren't you like doing this, or
mm,
go help them do that and whatnot, and go get that or whatnot. And like, yeah, I was like not like the head coach or like had coaching experience. So yeah, I was kind of doing like some of the nitty gritty stuff. But then on the sidelines, like in practice, like I was allowed to like help players. I was allowed to like be vocal. I was allowed to give insight and whatnot. So that was really cool. But definitely something I didn't expect was I wasn't done getting coached or yelled at myself, which
yeah.
was cool, but it helped me learn along the way. So yeah.
Yeah. How did you feel too with being literally, like you said, 6 months ago, being
Hmm.
a teammate to now being a coach? Because my freshman year of college, we had a former player who still had student teaching left. So for half the year, or she finished the year out until nationals. She was like a student coach, like a student
Yeah.
position coach, kind of pretty much like what you were doing is
Yeah.
what she was
Hmm.
doing. And obviously I didn't have her as a teammate. So like I had that separation, but
Hmm.
my really, really close friends on the team were her best friends. So I was always hanging out with her. And obviously I love her to death. She was my coach, my on the team all
Right.
the time. But it was just I had that separation. They didn't. So I
Hmm.
even now feel with the girls that I'm coaching, even though I'm just now 24 and they're still in high school, I still feel not that much older than them, even though
Yeah.
I am. How did you deal with that? Because literally you were just teammates. So how do you like,
No, literally. Yeah, it was crazy. So like my last year of playing, there was four seniors. I'm pretty sure it was four. Yeah. Four that had graduated. And so like the other three like went off. One went to like law school, and the other two like started their careers. But like I said, I still had schooling. So I came back. And so that still leaves like, like 9, 12 girls that I had played
yeah,
with coming back. And yeah, we had our fair share of like 4 or 5 freshmen that were coming in trying to fight for a spot. So like I had like separation from them, which was
yeah,
kind of like a given anyways. As freshmen come in, they're not really talkative or like know who to engage with.
yeah,
But I remember the first time within like that first week or two that I actually like gave some advice to like one of my point guards who was 6 months ago passing me the ball, 6 months ago getting my assist, she was getting my assist and whatnot. And I just remember thinking, I was like, I have an opportunity to help coach them. I have an opportunity to see from the sidelines to help learn from myself, but then to also see something that they don't see. But not only that, I have this connection that maybe my head coaches don't have. Like I was a teammate, I was a friend, I was a roommate to three of these
mm-hmm,
girls. Like we lived together for an entire year just 6 months ago. And so at first I was kind of very hesitant to even say anything, because I was like, they're not going to take me serious. Like I just played with them. They're going to be like, I don't know anything. But then one day I remember I was like, you do know something. Like you played college basketball. You wouldn't be in this position if they didn't want you to be
yeah,
here. Like you obviously have good IQ. Like you know the game of basketball. Like otherwise you wouldn't be here helping coach. And so I remember the first time I ever made a comment, and it was actually to my point guard when we were doing some drills, and she was just out of it. Her head was out of it. And I just simply like approached her, and her name's Kyra. And I just was like, hey, Kyra, like, what's going on? And she was just like, no, I don't know. And I was like, no, dude, like, talk to me. It's me, Emma. I'm your friend. We just played together. Like, you're my teammate. What's
mm-hmm,
going on? And then, like, instantly, it just felt like a wall or barrier was just like broken.
yeah,
Like, she talked to me like how we had lived together, like how we had played together. And I told her, I was like, okay, well, I'll watch for this. Like, I'll keep an eye out. And especially during games throughout the season, I became one of her biggest support systems, because I was right there with her on the sidelines, even though I had just played with her. And
mm-hmm,
not only that, like I had several of our post players start to come up to me out of their time and be like, hey, like, I just don't understand this, or like, what's going on? Or like,
Yeah.
what is coach wanting from me? Like, what do you see? And it's knowing that you had played with them, knowing that they are your friends, even though like you're the coach now, but knowing that you have that background, it slowly but surely definitely made it easier to approach them, to talk to them as a coach and have that respect too. I never got disrespected trying
Yeah.
to give any advice to anyone throughout like that whole year, which I was very thankful because I'm sure I felt it coming along one way or not, but
Yeah.
um, it didn't. And just trusting that process, like I'm here for a reason. I've played, like I know what I'm doing, but then also like that camaraderie of the relationship that was built before, it made it a little bit easier. It was tough to get into, but then that's on me too, building my own confidence, be like, hey, I got to speak up because coach said I need to. I'm an extra
Mhm.
set of eyes for a reason. So
Yeah.
it took a little bit of time, but once I like finally started saying stuff, like people started listening, and it's not like I went overboard or whatever, but the
Yeah.
few things I did have to say, like it got comfortable and more easy. So it was
Yeah.
weird, but you got to do it.
Yeah. It's like you have to break out your shell. Like you start finding your voice as a coach. Like at first you're
Hmm.
nervous, but like I just always try to put myself back in the position of like when a new coach came in for me and how I felt. So
Yeah.
I was like, you're putting too much pressure on yourself. Like these girls aren't
Hmm.
like thinking crazy about you. Just be a coach.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, I really
Literally.
like that. And I would say what I didn't expect was, well, I guess backstory is obviously I think everyone or you should when you coach you want to make an impact. You coach because you
Hmm.
love the game, you coach because you feel like there's some type of missing piece and you want to fill it, or something like
Hmm.
that you feel like you could bring to the table. So obviously with me and the reason of us girls basketball on this podcast, everything was just I wanted to be a positive impact as a woman stepping into other young girls and be that
Hmm.
positive impact. And I love relationships, I love building community, I love being vulnerable and open. So I really wanted to come in and I wanted to be able to build relationship with these girls and have them trust me and open up to me and trust my knowledge. So I think what I didn't expect was how quick that happened. And honestly, I'm so blessed. The two teams that I've coached this past year, like absolutely amazing girls. And I'm not just
Hmm.
biased. They are really awesome girls, personality wise, and just who they are and how they listen. So I've been absolutely blessed. So if any of you guys are watching this,
That's
I absolutely
awesome.
love you. But I will say that I did not expect that trust and that bond to come so quickly,
Hmm.
especially I think too, we talked about being young. I think
Hmm.
being young, I didn't want them to look at me like I didn't know what I was talking about,
Yeah.
or, being a female. I wanted them to be comfortable with me, but all that stuff. So I would say the trust and the bond that I've built with these girls, how quickly I was able to do it was like super
Hmm.
awesome. Did not
That's
expect that. I
important.
thought it
Yeah.
would take forever, you know what I mean, to build.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
But I
Yeah.
think I was in my head about it. Like, I don't know why I would think that it would take months to build a relationship
Hmm.
when you're with them all the time
Hmm.
and everything. So yeah, that was definitely I did not expect.
Yeah. I think, and like for me too, one thing that like I expected, but I didn't like realize the shock of like it hitting me to feel so different was knowing that like I was coaching these girls now, but how I was still friends with them, like had lived with them and whatnot, but like I wasn't like on the team anymore. So like I
Yeah.
wasn't going to like I went to like the team activities like if they needed like an extra coach there, but I wasn't like always like the one like asked to be like, hey, be there. But then I wasn't asked anymore by any of them like, oh, we're gonna go get food here or we're gonna go to do this. And I'm like, wow, this is really where the barrier is at right here.
Yeah.
Like that's where it separates. And like yeah, I had my fair share of times where like they did invite me or I was like, hey, like I'm free. Like, what are you guys doing tonight? But at the same time, I never wanted to overstep that because I knew like that's the whole team's process of trying to build together.
Hmm.
And who's going to be able to build when like these five freshmen come in, like you have your set nine that are still there, but then you have the student coach that's always hanging around, like hanging with everyone. Like
Yeah.
that's where I knew like my limit. It was like, you know what, like I had my time, I had the experience, and you know what, just because I thought like I had played 6 months ago still doesn't negate the fact that I had the title of coach in front of me.
Yeah.
So that is kind of just where it hit me. I was like, I can't really do social activities with them. I can't do everything that they're doing now throughout like the team stuff throughout the year because I have that like kind of seniority on me. I had that like red flag on me, like, oh, there's a coach right there, like, so that was kind
Yeah.
of like hard to realize, but I definitely still kept like the connections and made it possible to hang out with any of them whenever they wanted to or
Yeah.
whenever it was okay or whatnot.
I feel that. Yeah. was there's been some times where the girls I think forgot that I was a coach because just and so they start talking and I'm like, ladies, just just reminding you, I'm a coach. I'm not
Yeah.
your teammate. I'm not this,
Mhm.
not it wasn't them coming to me in confidence and talking. It was just
Right.
random conversations that you have with your friend. We'll just put it that way.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
they didn't care that I was standing there. I was like, ladies, I hope you know, like, you got to be careful with what you say
Yes.
around me.
Literally.
And it's
Literally.
like, and so I get that. I'm like, I am not, yeah,
Hmm.
I'm not your teammate.
Yeah, no, literally. And like there would be like some like I get that conversations that would come up and people would go silent or they'd be like, oh, never mind. Like, I can't
And
say
then it's
that. So like,
awkward. Like,
yeah. So like if I ever
ugh.
had to like initiate a conversation, I would just have to be like, okay, guys, one, I don't tell anything to coach that we say. So like let's put that out there. But it's just like it's that seniority of knowing like we are close in age, but I'm not your friend. Like it, especially like when you're on that court, like
Yeah.
there's a difference. So it really does limit like conversation when it comes to certain things.
Yeah, it's hard for sure. Yeah, I liked
Hmm.
everything that you said. And I think too, moving on to what I've learned, I think one
Hmm.
thing off the top of my head is how to actually coach. And I know that
Yeah.
sounds funny or like what like coach, that's what we're doing.
Hmm.
But I mean like coach from a different perspective of how I learned. I was
Hmm.
somebody who you could just tell me what to do and I'll go do it. You know what I mean? If you demonstrate it once, I watch and I see it and I can probably do it or give me 5 reps and I probably have it down. You know what I mean? I was just very
Hmm.
adaptable to that type of learning. And coaching now girls that in all ages, I've coached literally all ages this year, but being able to actually coach and learn how to cue, that's one thing my dad has taught me, and being able to say, okay, this person doesn't get it when I say it this way, so how can I either break it down more or use different
Hmm.
vocabulary or show them or those types of things. So really being stretched as a coach and how to
Yeah.
coach has been huge for me. um for sure, I've learned that big time because I try to always put my mind in their shoes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Hmm.
everybody is coached differently. So just adapting to that and understanding how each of my players learn and being able to teach them in that manner has been a
Hmm.
huge thing I've learned. And yeah, so that's one thing. I have others, but I'm gonna let you go. And it's kind
No,
of fun.
yeah.
It's more funny.
Okay. The first thing I really thought of though was like I remember I don't know what drill it is, but I just know like the philosophy. So like when I went to Indiana Tech, my second school, um, there was like it was just a whole different philosophy, a whole different coaching technique and whatnot. And like we really had coaches that like they got on you, but like in the best way possible. Like they would get in your ear, they'd be on your butt, they'd be yelling at you, probably saying like a couple cuss words, but it's because like they know you have the intention, you have the capability. So it's kind of they were kind of like the fire, like under our
Mhm.
seat, just to keep us going. And so I remember like when I started coaching that year and we had like our new freshmen come in. And obviously freshmen come in like they're quiet, they're trying to watch, like you got to pay attention, like focus is huge. And I think that's one thing that like I really appreciated, but also knew like if and when I do get into coaching, which I hopefully down the line after I finish school, I would love to coach like a high school team. Um, I realized how much you appreciate actual focus and active listening and watching with your eyes, with your body, with your ears.
Mhm.
Because then we would get into these reps where my coach was the one, she would show us one time and one time only. And if you didn't get it, you're screwed. Like you don't ask, like you need to be ready or whatever. And so they wouldn't be like paying attention. And I really realized that like focus is huge here, no matter what level you're at, like the respect for someone trying to help you get better. And I remember there were several drills where I was really just working with the freshmen and they wouldn't get it. They would get the reps wrong or they would kind of just stand on the sidelines and not even do the reps because they're like, I don't know, I keep messing it up. Like I keep getting yelled at, so I'm just going to stand out. And so I remember definitely going up to him, and that was probably like where I really felt like I had an impact was on the freshmen, because this was a whole new philosophy that they were coming into. And it was like our baseline drive drills where like you spin back and like go in for a layup or something, or like you reverse dribble to like hit an outlet pass or something.
Hmm.
And they just weren't like getting the footwork, they weren't getting the form. And I remember talking to one of them, and I was just like, hey, you're here for a reason. You know how to play basketball. You are one of our strongest freshmen. Like, believe in that. You're going to mess up. She's going to yell at you, but this is why I'm here. This is why Bella, the
Yeah.
other student coach, is here. Like, we are here to relate to you, because when she's on your butt, I'm going to come to you and be like, okay, did you hear what she said? Listen to what she said, not how she said it. Okay. Because guess what? When you talk to her in like 2 hours from now, she's going to be like all giddy and joking around with you. Okay. It's just the intensity to keep you going, because we know you have the
Hmm.
capabilities. And so being able to like break that down with the freshmen and then help them like actually work on the moves step by step, it was huge for them, because it helped them excel in the drill. Because like when you get to college, you're expected to know kind of like basics of basketball. And so like that's how my coach was like, you need to just know how to do this drill. And so some of the freshmen didn't understand how to get to that. And so it was kind of just realizing as a coach, like, how do I reach the level of teachability for these players, where you
Hmm.
had to break it down again, but then you had to keep encouraging them to like put it all together. So I think that's one thing that also stood out to me, is like how to appropriately coach each player, because not everyone can learn the same. One person might get it right away, but the other one's like, how did you get to that? Can we do like a step first before we get there? And that was
Hmm.
kind of my job, to like explain like the first parts of it to get to the drill. So it was really cool to actually be a part of that, and then also just pat myself on the back and be like, like, you do know what you're talking about, because they would go out and do it, and then they would score, they would get complimented, and I'm just like, yes, Emma, go. It's like, I know what I'm talking about. But
Yeah.
I think things like that, where I was like the mediator for these kids, it really opened my eyes up to like everyone is taught differently. So,
Yeah. I like that a lot. Yeah, that's really huge
mhm,
and really cool to hear. And I think the second thing is I remember before my first game that I ever coached, I
mhm,
was like asking my dad all these questions about, well, when do I call a timeout or this? Or like, when do you call timeouts? Or when do you do
yeah,
this or that? And I think what I learned, one, is how to call a timeout, because I was really nervous about that. Like, not
mhm,
just calling it, but like when, you know what I mean? He'll like,
mhm,
he always says, you'll feel it. You know.
mhm,
And so actually, like, what I think I learned is that I have more of the feel of the game than I thought. And
mhm,
so as a coach, I'm like, I'm like, okay, yeah, I know like we need a timeout. I know now we don't, because there's, the flow of the game's kind of happening. I know like that. So obviously I'm new. I'm still learning. I still have a lot
mhm,
to do, but I will say I learned that I'm more capable and have intuition than what I originally thought. I don't know if
mhm,
that's being a point guard and just
mhm.
being like a point guard and
No,
knowing
yeah.
that, or just in general, just because I've played for so long, you kind of feel it. But I think it's really cool. And you mentioned it, kind of stepping away from the sport and being on the other side. That's like been really cool, just to learn on how to be on the other side of the court, because it's hard. There's times where I'm like, I want to be on the court to show them, or I'm like, how do they not get this, or what are they doing, or why are they doing this? Or sometimes, like, obviously you want the game more, or you want things
Mhm.
more than them. You're a coach, like, you
Right.
should, you know what I mean?
Exactly. You
But
should.
it's
You should.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's just like, I don't know, it's just stepping into that coaching role and not being a player, and
Yeah.
learning that mindset of it has been really huge.
Yeah. And definitely like also having building that confidence to say what you want to say as a coach, to act how you want to act as a coach. Because I remember, oh my gosh, I remember the first time we had like locker room talks like at halftime. And I was like, oh my God, I'm a part of this now. Like
Yeah.
I get to hear what you guys talk about when we're in the locker room crapping our pants, wondering what you're gonna yell at us for. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I remember just hearing the talk, and I remember my head coach being like, Emma, what do you think? Like, what do you see? And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I'm here. Like I have this responsibility to like help them, because I have this ability to be here, to
Yeah.
be able to be on the other side of the game. And I think it was like that first game where I was asked, like, what do I see? And I made some comments, and coach actually was like, you're right. No, like that's true. Like I see that, like let's try that or something. It
Hmm.
was like about like we weren't driving baseline and corners were always open or something. And it's just that extra set of eyes. And coach like implemented that in the halftime talk. We worked on that. We changed it come second half and it worked. And just
Hmm.
sitting like on the outside of it, being like, wow, like I was an extra set of eyes, saw that, mentioned it, had the responsibility and confidence to
Yeah.
say what I thought, and it helped the team. And that's another thing, like any coach in any position, whether you're new or old, like you're in that position to help collectively the team get better. So if you really want to do as best as you can, you really have to be honest with your team, with yourself, and like what everything that you do see, and be like, hey guys, you probably don't want to hear it, even though it's the basic thing. I see this happening. We got to fix that, because that could be like the biggest difference in just 2 points. Like that'll just win the game. But
Hmm.
I remember like that first locker room halftime talk, I was so nervous. I kind of just sat there and like they're all just like, bah, 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 and I'm just like, oh my gosh, what's going on? It was like really intense, but like, I don't know, just having confidence confidence in myself to like say like what I saw, have it be implemented. It's like,
Hmm.
I am a good player. I do know what I'm kind of talking about. Like, yes, do
Yeah.
I have to grow to coach? 110%. Like, I'm not perfect. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. But it was really cool to be included in things like that
I
that
love
I
that.
knew I was gonna be, but it didn't really hit me until like I was in the moment.
Yeah, I love that. I think confidence is so huge. Like we literally always say it, and we've said it so many times. It's like you were hired for a reason. You are supposed to be coaching for a reason. You were
Hmm.
put in this position for a reason. So just lead with confidence, and it's okay.
Hmm.
Like we're always learning. Like I know coaches who work 20 years in the game and they're still learning different things.
Hmm.
So that's what I think is cool. And I'm really excited too for after season
Hmm.
to come back and revisit this podcast and be like, oh my gosh. Like,
Yeah.
because my thing is what I'm honestly right now, the season I'm in as a coach, what I'm super pumped for is we're done with AAU. I've ripped the band-aid off of coaching and figuring that out and kind of getting my feet wet with in-game coaching and all that stuff. I'm pumped for season again because I
Hmm.
haven't been in a season for a while. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
going to be really cool to like, I know it's going to be tiring and all this stuff, but I'm just so pumped to be like full swing of things, practice
100%.
and
Yeah.
coaching and getting on the bus for games
Hmm.
and doing that, but from a different perspective, like it's almost
Yeah.
like I'm like, now watch, like it's gonna be the third game. I'll be like, great, I have to get on this bus again.
Yeah,
But
I
I'm like,
know.
I'm like so pumped for that season of like, well, for the season, being in the season and
Hmm.
experiencing coaching 6 days a week, because
Yeah.
AAU, I mean, I was fortunate enough that we practiced a lot for AAU.
Mhm.
So I'm practicing between the two teams 3 to 4, well, 4 to 5 days a week, plus tournaments all the
Yeah,
time and those things. So I'm honestly pumped for that. And I can't wait to like share more stories
awesome.
and those things from that. And then I mean, Emma, you're gonna have some stories too, because you're gonna have
I
funny
know.
stories because you're gonna be coaching like fifth, sixth
I
graders.
know. I
So
know.
so you're
I'm so
gonna have
excited.
super cute and funny stories.
Literally. And like I'm just so excited because so like I haven't moved into like my apartment yet. So I'm just living with my best friend's sister because she has an extra room in her house. And this is her third or fourth year coaching middle
Mm,
school. And she's like always like told stories throughout like her coaching to like relate to her kids, and I've been fortunate to be in those stories throughout the years to like actually be there in person, like they can put a face to the name or whatnot. But it's like also the like age difference. It's going to be really cool to experience and to work with, because this will be the first time I'm going to be working with kids like this young. But it makes me appreciate every aspect of the game even
yeah,
more,
they're
because
so
it's not
fun.
exactly. And it's not going to be like I'm going to walk and be like, okay, between the legs, behind the back, crossover,
Mhm.
spin move, reverse layup. Like it's going to be like, okay, dribble with your right hand. All right, switch to the left. All right, here we go. Half court and back, like things like that.
Yeah,
But I'm so excited to see like the genuine joy and enthusiasm. I want to watch that grow. I miss those times because like I went through it, you went through it. Like it's someone
yeah,
else's turn to go through it, but I have the opportunity to be like a positive light in that journey where this girl is like, oh my God, like I met her. She's super fun. She likes basketball. This is fun. Like I'm gonna keep doing this.
it's
Like
so fun.
that's what excites me and whatnot. And definitely just also challenging myself to break the game down even more, to make it more understanding for these little girls, to
Mhm.
help them enjoy it, fall in love, and get some buckets along the way. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And like, not a better person to do that. Emma, you're so great. So I think it's going
Thank
to be
you.
so fun and to see that. They're so fun. Like younger kids, like I just coached a little tiny camp this past few
Mhm.
weekends, and we had K through fourth grade there. And it was just the cutest thing seeing them try or
Aw,
like get excited, or like we put them through relays and how like intense they were.
I
I was like,
know.
I'm not even that intense. Like
Their
I was
facial expressions, and they're just like,
I'll send you a video. I gotta send you the video. I filmed it. Stupidest thing ever, but that's a different topic.
it's so
But I
cute.
kind of want to dive into some fun
Mhm.
stories or memories we've had as coaching.
Definitely.
And I have a few. One's not so fun, but it was like, are you kidding me? Like this had to happen. And
Mhm.
then one of them's kind of definitely fun, but I'll go I'll do the first one that was not fun because it was just whatever. So, I am notorious for talking crap to the refs. I don't care. I really like it.
I was as a
I don't try
player
to be
for sure.
disrespectful, but I'm not afraid of refs, if that makes sense. Like
Mhm.
I just have a pet peeve towards refs.
Yeah.
Bad refs. If you're a good ref, I love you. Like I appreciate you. I joke with you. I talk with
Mhm.
you. Like you know who you are. You know if you're a
Yes.
good ref. I had this one ref that was against women, and I don't mean to say that in
Mm.
like a dramatic way, but I'm being so serious because he said some stuff to the lady who was taking the tickets. So that just show, it's a bigger
Yeah.
story time like later, but this
Mhm.
giving the backstory. So at this time it was like our first tournament at home, and my team was honestly just trying to figure out what we were doing. Like playing with each other, all that. Like we were playing a better team. And I'm not saying that we were like the greatest team out there. We were learning.
Mhm.
But I will say if my team though is getting fouled and we aren't able to learn. That's my biggest thing as a coach is
Mhm.
honestly when it comes to season that's different. It's still being like meh. But I don't care if we lose. And I don't say that in like, it's like fun. No, I mean, like, I
No.
want to learn. I would rather
Mhm.
us play a really good game and learn, but lose, other than playing a really shit game and win.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I want to
I do.
learn. So, especially AAU for me is I don't care if we win the tournament. I don't care if we win the game. I don't care. I want to teach my girls. So it was
Mhm.
getting to the point where I couldn't even teach them because of the calls that were being called or
Yeah.
the things that were happening, like, and they were being frustrated, so I was sitting up for my team. And he definitely said some things like you have more things to worry about than a foul, and looked at the scoreboard, and I was trying to call a timeout, and he literally I had to run on the court to yell timeout because I was like timeout, 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 timeout. Like I kept yelling. He was standing
Yeah.
right by me. Then he was a little not nice word and went up to the people at the stands at the scoreboard and was like, "Did you hear her yell at me?" Like he literally said that. And it's funny because those were my players. He didn't realize it. It was my players sitting there. So then what happened is I told him, then the next day was a tournament. The next day I'm
Mhm.
sitting there at the scores table. And again, I'm the only female coach there. The
Yeah.
previous day, there was two or three coaches that got texts for talking to the refs. I did not get a tech. I didn't get any of this. So all these coaches got texts, and people knew there was a coach there that was like kind of a certified a-hole. Like people knew it and they told me
Yeah.
about it. So I'm sitting there at the scores table, and the ref was joking with the other coach and was like saying something about him refing. And then he looks at me. I'm not even in the game. Like I'm not
Mhm.
even, this is not me coaching. I'm just sitting there, and he looks at me, goes, "Oh yeah, like not like her," because I like got on him. Like he jabbed at me for standing up for my team. And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, I stood up because you were going after my players." Because he said something, "I'm not going after your players." So during halftime, comes up to me, um, "Can you tell me what you mean by going after your players?" I said, "Yeah." And I told him exactly. And he was like, "I've been a ref for 20 years. I've been refing the same way. I ref the same way I ref your game and these games." I said, and I literally, I'm not even kidding. I looked him in his face and said, "That's okay. Cause I didn't like the way you ref the other games either." Like I was, but it got to something bad where like the game got paused because he was the ref. So the game did
Mhm.
not start, and the whole gym was looking at us. And I'm like, "You look stupid for fighting with the 23-year-old girl right now." Like
Yeah.
it was bad. Like there was more to the story, but like that
Dang.
was it. I was like,
Right.
this is my second tournament and I'm already in a fight, like one of the worst
Right.
fights with the ref. It's not just like in game fights. Like he came up to me after,
Right. He
and
approached
I was
you.
like, bro, it was over with. But
Yeah.
that's my first story.
Goodness gracious. Like I
Yeah.
totally agree though. Like I have respect for refs. Like I was a big trash talker as a player. As a coach, I said a few things like this past year, like when I had the opportunity and when I definitely got engaged in the game. But like I have a respect for them, but there's also a boundary. Just because
Yes.
you wear that striped shirt does not mean you're controlling this whole thing, does not mean you're
Literally.
doing it fair, does not mean you're doing it the right way. You can go
Yeah.
ahead and say it, but trust me, when we walk into a gym and we see who's here to ref, we're like, great, we have
Great.
him, or oh, we
Yes.
have her, hell yeah, like something like that. Like
Yes.
you leave a legacy, and if you don't do it the right way, if you're like by the book, nitty gritty, like on people's butts, but like in a
Yeah.
dirty way, people are not going to appreciate that. People are going
Yep.
to engage, and that should be encouraged, because like
Mhm.
there are refs out there that let so much go, that don't really call anything, or
Yeah.
that call the absolute wrong things when everything else
Yes.
worse is going on. And I totally agree with that. I don't know if I have like coaching wise, like any like experiences where I got into it with the rest, because like I was like the second row of
Yeah.
coaches, so or whatnot. But I had my fair share of like getting up and cheering, and like I did like get on the court sometimes when it came to certain things, and I was told to like back off, but I would bounce right back and be like, well, if you'd call it the right way, we wouldn't have three girls injured in one quarter.
Yeah.
Like, are you not seeing like the push in the back? She literally like tripped her. Like
Yeah.
it, you build this confidence, like even as a player and a teammate, but as a coach, you have even more respect for your team and for
Mhm.
what you guys are built
Oh yeah,
around, because it comes
exactly.
to a whole like a whole safety thing, a whole thing like I got your back no matter what it is, even though I'm not on that court wearing that jersey with you right now. You best believe everything I do see behind the scenes that you don't see right now in the game, I'm going to stand up for you and I'm going to say something. And so I definitely had my fair share of times doing that. And there are definitely conference games where those ones get pretty intense, and you have like the perfect rest sometimes, or sometimes not even good ones, and it makes it
Yeah.
even more intense. Um, I remember getting into it one game. I think we were up in Michigan or whatever, and one of our girls was going off. She had like in the third quarter, she was at like 20, 22 points already, and it was like a really close game. And she started like the fourth quarter. She did like her move or whatever, like hit a three, and she got fouled, but she like got rammed. Like this girl, like she juked her off and did like a step back. And so this girl like lunged at her, but like tackled her. And I don't think I ever like shot up so fast in my seat. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like that's literally like an intentional foul. Like they're
Mhm.
both on the ground, like her body's on top of her. Like you're kidding me. Like this is how it's been the whole game. And we were the visitors. So like
Yeah.
there's also that thing on your back if you're a visiting team. But I just remember, and I that was one of the days where my coach had to be like pulled me back and was like, sit down, like don't say stuff or whatever, because of the intensity of the game. But it's like you have their back no matter what it
Yeah.
is, and even more so because you know who they are as a person, as a player. But as a coach, you're like, this is my team, like she's a
Yeah.
key ingredient to our team, so you're
Yeah.
going to have an extra say.
Exactly. That's why exactly. Like that is why I actually got fired up like afterwards even more because I'm standing up for my team. Like I'm not
Mhm.
just doing it to be whatever cuz honestly
Right.
ever since then I've actually surprised myself and I haven't said much to the refs at all. And I surprised myself cuz normally I was very sarcastic as a player, but like I feel like I've done a good job with that, but it's just really frustrating because like you're with them all of practice and like a ref can change a game like that. Like
Mhm.
and they just show up for the 2 hours of the game and leave. I'm with them all the time coaching them trying to make them better. And I just don't like it when refs have egos. And the thing is I know we're human. I know refs are human. I know that they can make a mistake, but tell me you made a mistake. Like when I say ref, like look at this or come on, whatever. Like they're like it's like no, like just
Yeah.
admit that you were wrong. I don't care. We all saw you were wrong. You could admit it. Or I
Mhm.
appreciate two makeup calls. Like you can, I'm like, okay, I'll back
Right.
off. You
Yeah.
made a makeup call. Okay. But or two, I've always said this. I don't care if you call the game tight or you let things go, call it consistent. If you
Mhm.
don't call it consistent, that's where I get mad. But if you're
Same.
calling ticky tack things, but you're also calling it on the other team, I'm the one who I know I can appreciate when that wasn't a foul, but you called it for us. You know
Mhm,
what I mean?
mhm.
And you knew, like I can
Yeah,
appreciate that. I see what you're doing, but yeah, that was just my rant refing. Honestly, I could do a whole podcast episode because I
yeah.
respect refs, but like when you cross the line, I just can't with you.
And it's easy to see, like,
Ugh.
when that line is crossed too, like, you
Yes.
can't just, like, tiptoe over it, like, it's gonna be very obvious in a game, especially when the
Yeah.
game is only 4 quarters, 10 minutes each quarter, like, time is of the essence, like, you can
Yes.
tell when things are either fair or not fair,
Yeah, literally.
that's for sure.
I agree. I think, and then the last little story I have, honestly, it happened. The thing that sticks out to me most, I think, story wise, I have a lot because my girls have personalities that are just, they're amazing, but they're little energizing balls half the time. So, like, there's just a lot of things that they do that make me laugh. But the one story that I want to say that just made my heart melt was I got to coach the other day, like this past Monday, and we just had a really good game. Like, I was nervous about the game because we weren't really practicing much. And I thought we'd be kind of out of shape and just kind of like just make mistakes because of being out of shape, not because like we normally would. Oh
Right.
my gosh, that rest was like amazing for these girls. And we came in and just fiery. Like we won by 20. They just played well. Like they didn't make many
Dang.
turnovers and I got to coach them and it was just really fun to see them play well, have fun, sit on the bench. Where the story is that I want to share is we sat down in the corner and I just told the girls, I was like, I am so proud of all of you guys. Like that was such a fun game to coach. You guys were very coachable. Like when I took you out to coach you, not because you made a mistake, because I saw
Mhm.
something and I wanted to teach you and then put you back in. You guys were very respectful of that, very listening. And I was like, just kind of on my rant. And I told him, I was like, do you guys have anything to say? And one of the girls was like, that was fun. And that right there was what made my entire 6 months of coaching because like we said, even in the previous podcast, that we filmed, we talked about like we want it to be fun. Basketball is a fun game. So for them to say they had fun and really meant it, and you could tell on their
Mhm.
face, I was like, that was my mission. Like for coaching,
Yep.
my mission is that you have fun. And for you to say that, they have no clue, unless they're listening to this right now, they
Right.
have absolutely no clue how much that made my heart melt and how much
Mhm.
I felt really good coming off of that game and needed that for confidence. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was just like that a happy memory, happy thing that happened. And that just really now I'm sitting here like, man, I want to go to practice again because we haven't been
Yeah.
practicing and stuff. And I'm like, I just want to go to practice again and be with my girls and like all this
I
stuff.
love it.
But yeah, that was my happy memory. So hopefully we can keep that
Oh,
going and they can keep having fun.
that's awesome. Oh, I love that. I mean, there was so much good and, like, ugly and, like, highs and lows that, like, definitely happened, like, throughout, like, my coaching of just, like, the one
Mhm.
short year, which included, like, preseason and then season and then postseason workouts and whatnot, and all the nitty-gritty stuff in between. Um, I don't know, honestly, right off the bat, if anything really sticks out to me, I guess really what stood out to me is just really the opportunity to get to do everything because it
Yeah.
was a very fast transition. I still had school to worry about, so I had to balance that. But on top of coaching, like I had to be there at certain times that even I was there before the players. I had to do
Yeah.
certain things before games and practices that the players didn't have to do.
Exactly.
And it really made me more appreciative of what the coaches before me did my year, just the year before when I transferred and was playing there. And I guess like the biggest thing I can say is I was just grateful the whole time because I've been the player since like I can confidently say this since I've grown up, since I've been little, since my dad coached me to like
Yeah.
my whole journey. I have always been that person, you know, after hard game, after hard practice, you say thank you. You say thank you to coach, you say thank you to all your coaches there, you say thank you to your teammates. And that's one thing I continue to do after each game when I would coach, after each game when I was
Mhm.
ran all over town, like to go to 5, 6 different places before practice started or before team dinner. Like I had to get these things because we didn't have it or something messed up. And I was just thankful enough to be in that opportunity, to be in that position and know that I could be away from the game. I could just be doing school. I could
Yeah.
maybe not even be doing school. Like I wouldn't be here. And so I just remember telling my coach all the time, and it's definitely like a shout out she gave me as well, like towards the end of
Aw.
my season. She always praised me just for how thankful I was. And that's one thing I think I just carry very high and like hold my head high a lot with that, because I learned a lot. I was definitely thrown under the bus a lot because I was a coach. So it's just kind of like, oh, Emma, go do
Yeah.
that. Or Emma, what's going on? Or I'm just, oh, I don't know, but just yell at me. Like, it's okay. But I had a lot of good memories, and like I learned a lot. It really made me appreciate like kids who actually pay attention, who actually work hard, who actually
Yeah.
ask questions, and who actually like do the drill with purpose, who actually play with purpose. It was really
Yeah.
cool to see. And I do remember, the one thing I do remember, there was this one practice and we were like working on some type of like defending drill or whatever. And I was on offense, me and the other student coach. So like we were strictly on offense. Everyone had to like guard us. And coach was like, well, if you can get like 5 stops like on these two, like then we'll be done with the drill. And so like the drill went on, I crap you not, for like 20, 25 minutes, because I'm just gonna pat myself on the back. No one could stop me. And like I was scoring. So it's like, like when you throw it out to the wing and you have to like close out
Oh
and then like
yeah.
defend it. So like it was one of those drills. And I mean, like I'm shooting threes in their face, I'm ripping layups, jumpers, everything. And I remember coach stopped one time and she goes, Emma's not even a player anymore. She's a coach. And you know what? We'll just be here all day and she'll just keep scoring on all you players because she's just a coach now. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. I'm like, thank you, but no, let's not do this. And so, like, I don't know, in that moment, it was kind of just like a pat on the back to me, but then also like I'm helping these girls get better. Like I am still here, like I'm around, I'm being put in these drills to help them get better. And yeah, did they not like me after that drill? Of course. Like I wouldn't like myself either. Like I didn't like a lot of people in certain drills. But in that moment, it really helped me, because as my head coach is over here, like berating the girls, like, come on, you got to do this better or stop this better. There's also the other coaches behind me saying, like, you have to keep going hard. Like, this is how they're going to get better. Like, keep going
Yeah.
until you're tired. Like, you have to do this. And of course, like, as you're a teammate, I'm sure you've had like conversations with other girls. Like, if you're going in a drill, be like, hey, I'm gonna go this way if you need, and I'll go this way and you go that way, or something like that.
Yeah.
We've all been there. Like I do that all the time. But it was like a moment where I couldn't do that. I had to keep doing what I was
Yeah.
supposed to do as a coach and as to get them better. And like no hard feelings were ever hurt. Like, it's the game of basketball. It is what it is. But I guess in that moment, it's really where I felt separated
Mm.
as a coach to a player, where I knew I was doing this for the benefit of them, even though it didn't feel good because they had to keep doing it again. But that's how they got better. And
Yeah.
that was just one thing that I really do remember. And I remember the coaches talked to me after practice saying, like good job, like thank you, like we needed that, but that's also why you're here, because you were one of the better players on the team last year. Like you're helping us in so many different ways. And so it was just
Yeah.
another opportunity to be thankful and grateful. And it was really fun. It was really
Yeah.
fun. There's a lot of errands I had to run, but hey,
Yeah.
it
It's
is what
just
it
good
is.
reassurance. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
definitely.
I love that. Well, I think
Sorry, I kind of
that's,
got like on a rant. Yeah, I totally just
yeah,
like
I
went
love
yelling.
it.
I don't know.
I love
Coaching's
it.
fun. Coaching's fun.
Coaching is fun, and I'm really excited to do more of these things, and in the future just continue to coach and do more, because I think a lot of us are coaches, and it doesn't have to just be in basketball. It's just in life.
Hmm.
Like there's things you're always gonna, I feel like, coach in and whatnot. So translate this how you want in your
Hmm.
areas of life, and it's just fun. We wanted to just kind of sit down and more just kind of have a really just chill stress-free conversation. So if you're listening to this, like literally just listen to this in just a random setting, like, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
because it's just super chill. But yeah, we're really pumped because we're probably going to do this when season ends and
Hmm.
just kind of revisit these conversations and what we've learned more, even more fun memories, because those are just fun podcasts in general, just fun memories and whatnot. But yeah, with that being said, make sure to follow us at Us Girls United on Instagram. Make sure to rate and review this podcast, because come on, we need more of those,
Come
and
on, come on, come
share.
on.
We get them up. And then we
Come,
want
come, come.
to have you guys share this podcast, anybody who's even like looking to be a coach or a new coach or just
Hmm.
anything like that, because I mean we all can learn from each other for sure. I mean, I learned from Emma just sitting here listening to her. So I think that's
Insane.
amazing, to just that we can all give that to each other. And with that being said, we will see you guys next week.